This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
This is Optimal Finance Daily, 9 Ways to Free Yourself from the Trap of Consumerism, Part 1 by Trefzger of MaximumGratitudeMinimalStuff.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. I have a bit of a longer post today, so I'll read the first part today and finish the rest for you tomorrow. So with that, let's dive right into Part 1 and start optimizing your life. 9 Ways to Free Yourself from the Trap of Consumerism, Part 1 by Trefzger of MaximumGratitudeMinimalStuff.com. We're all consumers. We eat, we need clothing and shelter, we use tools and supplies to accomplish our work. In fact, the typical definition of life includes the abilities to eat, metabolize, and excrete. In other words, life requires consumption. But consumerism is a social and economic order that encourages the acquisition of goods and services in ever-increasing amounts, according to Wikipedia. It's that last phrase that should grab our attention. Forever dissatisfied. Our society teaches us that we should consume more and more as time goes by. We aren't supposed to establish a sustainable level of consumption, but are expected to meet increasing desires. By almost every measure, we consume more per person now than we did 60 years ago. Yet most of us still have long lists of things we want or believe we need. Our supposedly robust economy requires us to be forever unsatisfied with what we have. We have to consume in order to survive, but we don't have to consume an ever-increasing amount, even if everyone expects us to. We don't have to compromise health, finances, time, or the ultimate purpose of our lives to serve consumerism. The symptoms of consumerism. How do you know if you're caught in the trap of consumerism? Number 1, you buy more than you planned. You leave your house with a shopping list, but consistently return with items you didn't intend to purchase. Number 2, you run out of storage space. Okay, maybe you live in a really tiny home, or you're buying items for an upcoming special event, or you just have a tendency to be disorganized. But if you routinely bring home items that don't have a designated spot to belong, you're probably consuming too much. Number 3, you buy things you already have. If you regularly buy things that you discover you already have at home, your purchases may be impulsive, and it's safe to say you're suffering from consumerism. Number 4, you routinely seek approval for your purchases. There's a difference between seeking information or feedback in order to make an informed purchase and looking for approval after the fact. If you need to find ways to justify your purchases or brag about what a great deal you got, you're probably buying things you don't need. Number 5, you regularly go over your budget. Of course, things happen that you can't foresee, or prices are higher than you expected. But if you've set a realistic budget and often go over it, you're probably consuming excessively. Number 6, you buy things on credit. Some people can be wise about how they manage credit to earn points and benefits. But if you're like most of us, you use credit cards to buy things you can't actually afford. Number 7, you regret purchases. One of the more obvious signs that you have a problem with consumerism is that you regularly feel buyer's remorse. Number 8, you rely heavily on return policies. You might buy items to see if they meet your needs, returning them if they don't. But if you buy items with the idea, oh well, I can always return it, you may be buying stuff you don't really need or can't afford. If you're dependent on a liberal return policy, you're probably overconsuming. And number 9, you hide purchases. Not much to say here. If you're ashamed of your purchases or use them in secret, you're caught in the trap of consumerism. Do you have any of these symptoms? If not, good for you. But you may know someone who does. And if you're suffering from consumerism, listen on for strategies you can use to help yourself recover. 9 strategies to curb consumption. Number 1, slow down. When we buy more than we need, we're probably making impulsive decisions. We're buying with our emotions instead of our minds. But by making a list of what we need or want, we give ourselves time to consider each purchase. If you feel an urgency to buy something, figure out why. Is the urgency a result of an event you can't control? You may legitimately need the item, but maybe you can borrow it, rent it, or look for a secondhand option. Is the urgency a result of poor planning, such as no toilet paper in the house because you forgot to put it on your list when you shopped last week? You may need to buy it now, but how can you prevent this situation in the future? Is the urgency a result of clever marketing, a sale, an eye-catching display, or some other situation that provokes an emotional response? Use your list. Write the item on it and give yourself a day, or 3, or even 7 to think about or research the purchase. Is this too much trouble? Do you even remember the item a week later? Maybe you don't need to buy it after all. By slowing down, you give yourself the chance to be intentional rather than emotional about your purchases, reducing the chance that you'll buy something destined to become clutter. Number 2, hear that on tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled 9 Ways to Free Yourself from the Trap of Consumerism by Karen Trefzger of MaximumGratitudeMinimalStuff.com. And I'll be right back with my commentary. Buy low, sell high. It's easy to say, hard to do. For example, high interest rates are crushing the real estate market right now. Demand is dropping and prices are falling, even for many of the best assets. It's no wonder the F.I.R.E flagship fund plans to go on a buying spree, expanding its billion-dollar real estate portfolio over the next few months. You can add the F.I.R.E flagship fund to your portfolio in just minutes and with as little as $10 by visiting fundrise.com/OFD. That's FUNDRISE.com/OFD. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the F.I.R.E flagship fund before investing. This and other information can be found in the fund's prospectus at fundrise.com/flagship. This is a paid advertisement. As Socrates said, quote, "The secret of happiness, you see, is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less." End quote. Enjoying less is an incredible skill set that our consumerist culture will never talk about, but it will make you rich as hell. And not just rich monetarily, but rich in time and energy as well. When I look around me, I feel like I'm surrounded by luxury. I have a great house with central air that is larger than any apartment I've ever lived in. I have plenty of food in the fridge and running water and a car that gets me from point A to point B. But I suspect that most people would never describe my lifestyle as luxurious. That house I love, it's only 1,100 square feet with no garage in a neighborhood that's up and coming, but still a bit rough around the edges. That food in the fridge, it's mostly simple whole food ingredients that require a lot of time and energy to prepare into meals. That car that I love, it's definitely not a Tesla. I'm cruising around in a 2010 Mazda 3 that I bought for $6,000 cash. I think it feels luxurious to me because I've learned to foster a deep appreciation for the material abundance I already have, rather than constantly seeking out more, newer, bigger, or upgraded possessions. But we're just halfway through the article. So for now, have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow, where we'll finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.